Hey, welcome to another episode of Chasing Rings. What's up, gentlemen?
Gentlemen,
Brothers.
gentlemen,
We are so close to football. I cannot keep a smile off of my face, man. I can't believe this Saturday the college season actually gets underway. And we are, a couple weeks out from the start of the NFL season. So, really looking forward to that. Tonight, we'll continue our Division Chase series when we jump into the NFC, where we'll preview the NFC East and the NFC North. But you know how we always got to do before we hop right into it.
Wait, what?
Gee, set us off tonight, my partner.
All right, got a two-parter for you. So the Eagles' first winning season, they went 5-4-1. But did you know that that happened in 1943 when they were part of a team called the Steagles? And the Steagles was the
Wait,
temporary
what?
merger between the Eagles and the Steelers due to World War II shortage of players.
yeah, for sure. I know that they when they were doing the throwback jerseys, I think the Eagles at a certain time were wearing those throwback jerseys.
Okay. What do you have for us tonight, big dude?
Well, in the Eagles camp, there's a whole lot of action up front on a defensive line. We got a big signing from Jonathan Greenyard, and Jonathan Greenyard got hurt, which put Jalix Hunt in Jonathan Greenyard's spot for another great year. But did you know that last year, Jalix Hunt led the Eagles in sacks and in interceptions with 6.5 sacks and 3 interceptions, led in both categories for the team in 2025.
Wait, what?
He's the most underrated defensive lineman in the league. And 3 interceptions, that goes to show you how much our secondary needs help. Who would ever say their defensive end has the most interceptions? You got all those dogs out there.
Right.
True that. My wait, what is we all remember the old NFC Central, which is now the North, and Tampa Bay used to be a part of that. Did you all know that in 1994 the other members of the Central tried to get Tampa kicked out?
Wait, what?
Trying to get him kicked out.
They
He's a
com-
hater.
they petitioned to then Commissioner, rest in peace, Paul Tagliabue, to get the Bucks out of the division because at that time, and I don't know if they still do in the NFL or not. I probably should have looked that up. But the visitors shared a percentage of ticket sales, and the division, they had revenue splits in terms of ticket sales, and Tampa's ticket sales, and you remember Tampa at that time was pretty dreadful. Tampa was bringing the division down according to the rest of the teams. So they wanted them out of there. And gee, you'll appreciate this. They wanted Tampa out and they wanted your boys in. So they
Hmm.
wanted Carolina to join them. And remember, I said 1994, Carolina they had founded themselves, but they were still a season away from their
Mm-hmm.
first game. So fast forward, 2002, the league expanded, reorged the divisions now to where we have 8 divisions, 4 in each of the conferences, and they just let Tampa Bay go about their business. And Tampa actually went, as we know now, in the division with Carolina, Atlanta, New Orleans, the South. So I found that interesting and something I definitely did not know about the history. And
Wow.
I look at those games a little bit differently now when those teams play Tampa. That's
Mm-hmm.
nasty to try and get them kicked out of the division, man.
Yeah,
That's
that was
cold.
creamsicle Tampa Bay years,
Yes.
wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Probably some Steve DeBerg or something in that piece, man.
Well, good goo goo.
But that'll do it for our wait. What?
Wait, what?
Oh, let's hop into a couple of big news stories. One, we'll start with the injuries in the NFL. And we've been talking offline about this really since the first injury of camp. And just to throw some stats out there for you fellas, and I'm sure I'm off a few here or there, but I have right now, based on the last few injuries, because Bud Clark, the rookie safety from Seattle, got hurt in the Sunday night game and he broke his ankle. He's out for the season, so he's
Oh
the
my
newest
gosh.
casualty. Actually, take that back. Calvin Austin, the wide receiver from the Giants, is the newest casualty That was practice Tuesday. But 21 teams have been impacted by injuries thus far, which is a ridiculous amount. Now, not all of it is out for the season. Some of it's going to impact the beginning of their seasons. Some of it is players who had catastrophic injuries last year, whether they're ready or not beginning of the season. But collectively, 21 teams hit, man. And it's almost whenever you see an NFL headline right now, you almost want to hold your breath. I know, you got hit. You have two guys that are out for the season, one of your better rookies. San Francisco and Carolina specifically, in this list that I saw, it didn't even list your players. It listed Carolina and San Francisco, the teams. That's how many injuries you have, especially San Francisco.
Right, because they had the injury bug last season.
Yeah, San Francisco's depth chart is going to be seriously impacted by this. And I mean, I feel like I don't recall a year where we had this many injuries prior to the start of the season. And I think I had mentioned before, unfortunately, the NFL doesn't keep these stats, historically in terms of how many injuries occur before the season starts, which I find to be a little bit weird. But it is the NFL. And when it comes to injuries and player safety, do I even need to end that sentence?
Was it last week or week before? I looked up some information, some research on it, and the researchers were saying that there was actually fewer injuries.
Which sounds crazy to me.
It makes me wonder, is it just reported more now?
Well, I'm curious about the researchers saying that. I agree with you, big dude. It's probably reported more now. And we see it, right? There's more televised coverage. But I'm curious about that conclusion when there's no data from year to year. How do you come up with that if the NFL doesn't keep data on it? But if there's more injuries than this, that's pretty bad. I mean, a lot of these teams are going to be without key players the first few games of the season. And I honestly don't recall this many teams being impacted like that.
Yeah, I thought the NFL keeps up with the injury reports and everything.
Well, yeah, apparently they publish one every week, but I don't know if the preseason doesn't count or what the deal is with that. But CTE is also fictional too, right?
So, no doubt.
So just thought that was interesting. So keep our fingers crossed as we get into this last preseason game that that everybody can get out out of there healthy, and the teams can be at their best, and for those who are hurt, that they recover effectively and get up to full strength and continue their careers. But just wanted to throw that out there real quick. And then probably the biggest story right now that's just causing chaos in both the college side of the game. Well, really the college side of the game. The NFL is like, whatever. This fifth-year eligibility thing is totally out of control right now. And I was hoping by the time we came on for this episode that there would be some definitive conclusion to how this is going to proceed. But now there's going to be a countersuit, because for those of you who haven't been keeping up with it, the fifth-year eligibility rule that was part of this Protect College Sports Act did not include, what was it, fellas? The class of 22, right? Once they graduated, that was it. I believe it was the class of 22. Yeah. So it came through after they graduated. So now for those who aren't making rosters, they're trying to come back and do a 180 and come back through to college. And some of them had started the process of that. One of the issues with this is the states making decisions. It was turned down in Colorado. Louisiana approved it, and that's where the Ole Miss players are like, bet, I'm going to go back to school. Well, one of the Ole Miss former players, the tight end, he ended up going to LSU following Kiffin, of course, and now we get word that the SEC, along with the Big Ten's like, nah, we're not doing that. So they basically put a ban on any college players coming back to play after they've gone to the NFL, whether they made a roster, signed a contract or not. Once they declared, that's it. And I don't know if you guys got a chance to see the penalties came out today. Coaches half the season. It was similar to the Sorsby situation. If they decided to go through with that, coaches suspended half the season, a big nick on your budget, and I believe that you lose your conference voting rights. So I'm assuming the ACC
accepts one of these people. Those are the
consequences. Those are the consequences. And I'm guessing it looks like the Big 12 and the ACC are going to follow, which I'm at least glad that the Power Four are on board with this because at least it makes it look like somebody's talking about this instead of selfishly only looking at their own viewpoint.
Yeah, trying to
But
be more consistent across the board.
yeah,
Yeah,
what are you guys' thoughts about this, big dude? Go ahead because I'm confused about we had this conversation. Who has power to decide what's allowed and what isn't?
well, and I think clearly the conferences are establishing themselves as having the powers, as we've said on other episodes. And I know that maybe individually and indirectly, the NCAA has no more voice in all this. I think they were even saying that Congress and Senate has to do their job. If Congress, one of the coaches said, one of the presidents of a university, I think said, I forgot which one, said if Congress and Senate would do their jobs, we wouldn't have to worry about stuff like that. Where does that come in? And if they're doing their jobs, what about the NCAA? Is Congress and the Senate, are they empowering the NCAA? Or is the NCAA just an advisory group no more, But I think this is going to continue. The more that we continue to identify eligibility and go into the edge of eligibility to also identifying whether the athlete is amateur anymore or an employee, I think we'll continue to have these particular arguments. And we haven't said, that this is colleges for amateurs. I think if they had said that NCAA were amateurs, I mean, when somebody goes to a pro camp, I don't think they're any longer amateurs. I think because no one has made any distinctions, they have left them wide open in terms of how it can be interpreted. And then when a judge in Baton Rouge says all of them are coming back, just not part of them, but all those people, was it 12 people that they said they were all coming back in Daquan? I forget Daquan's last name from Mississippi. They're almost so sure they're going to get him. And then you got one coach, Lane Kiffin, who's saying, hey, I'm not trying to hurt nobody, but we'll take some of those guys. So that's the question. And I now understand what you meant, Guru, about he's kind of a rub it in guy. But his whole thing is, well, it kind of sucks being you if you can't get him, but I'll take him. So that's what I'm starting to. I don't blame him. And Dion put that out there too. That as long as Georgia, I think he said, as long as Georgia Tech doesn't have any of those guys, I don't have any problem. If there was that opportunity, he said, hey, listen, if it's not about money, and everybody says it's not about money, then and everybody knows that it is. Everybody knows it's about money. That rookie contract, they weren't going to get it. They weren't going to even make a team to get the rookie contract. Now they're saying there's an opportunity to come back. Somebody's going to make a breakthrough that they're not going to be able to seal up. That's the way I see it. But going to an NFL camp, clearly NFL camp, you are no longer a person that's playing college. You have no, even if you have eligibility left, everybody, that was always the joke. When they saw you, or I was 30 years old, and one of the coaches saw me and they grabbed me by my arm and they said, hey, you got any eligibility left? Everybody laughed at that. It's no longer a joke, bro. Do you have eligibility left?
Yeah. It's the weirdest thing to me because I've never understood. I mean, I came up always thinking that the NCAA was the governing body over college sports, but they have no governance authority at all. And how did I'm thinking the court made a decision and the conferences are like, well, yeah, that's nice and all, but this is what we're doing. I don't understand. Like, who's in charge here?
Well, here's the thing: the college presidents have always had the power, and those presidents' authority it flowed up through the conference, and then to the NCAA. So the NCAA has always had whatever authority was given to it by the presidents and the collectives within the conferences. So that's just how it's always been. This is one of those issues, and Power Four football in general is showing you exactly how it's really set up to be. Is ultimately the presidents. Now, in terms of the federal law that's going on, I suspect some of these institutions are looking at it from, hold up, this is a state right issue. I mean, particularly if it's one of these public schools, they're probably like, you can't tell us how we want to take our students. That's up to us. And I wouldn't be surprised some of that discussion is happening in some of the states. And so they're kind of like, yeah, but we're gonna do what we're gonna do. And then of course those private schools that are in those conferences are just able to do pretty much what they want. When I think about this, I think it's about control. It's another aspect of control. Going to really discourage people from leaving early because they know once they leave, they can't come back. So you're going to discourage some of that. Me personally, I've heard some people talk about professionals and professionals, bigger, stronger, faster. I'm just like, yeah, I don't know if that's a good argument, especially when you have a lot of rookies who are getting ready to start. So I mean, there's a bridge there, and so I don't know if that's the main issue. The whole professional thing for me, I don't think you become a professional until you make the squad. Until then, you're practicing. You're trying to get the job. You're not a professional. So this is probably where I'm going. You probably can pick this up. My belief is let's keep it simple. You got your 5 years. You can try out. But if you don't make a squad for the regular season, okay, you can come back to the portal. And if somebody wants, you just have to battle the portal like everybody else. There's not going to be a guarantee that you're going to get picked up because you got to think about it. There are juniors and seniors who declared, and some of them are probably sitting there, like, dang, I wish I hadn't done that because they didn't get picked up, they didn't get drafted. And so where do you go? So this is why I'm saying I'm gonna close out with this is that yes, there has to be some consistency. It can't be the wild, wild west and anything goes. But I do believe that if you just say the 5 years, keep it consistent. If you leave, you don't make a roster, you have eligibility left, hop in the portal, and if there's space, somebody will find you. If not, you'll still be sitting out because both of you know that there are people who left as juniors or left with extra eligibility. They're not playing right now, and some of them, if they went to the portal, may not even been picked up in the portal. So that's kind of how I look at it. I think that we need to back up, and I think that you can over control the situation, and it becomes unhelpful in and of itself. And I think that's where this is going.
Part of me feels like for this particular class, because they're really the only class that it impacts.
Yeah.
If you can find a spot, cool. But we know how recruitment works. You have your eyes on filling your roster well ahead of the actual class that's coming up. So you
Right.
have your guys, and I think you kind of said it towards the end there, G. If you can find a spot, good for you. But it's not like people got these spots open at all the top schools waiting for you. People that fill their
Exactly.
games start Saturday. So, where you gonna go really play? Now, FCS is, I'm sure, will be happy to have you. But these guys don't want to go from SEC Big Ten to the FCS,
Right.
right?
Right.
But I mean, part of me is like, you know what? That's fine. Y'all can try to come back, but guess what? There's no spot for you. Sorry. Try the
Hit the
next
portal.
school. Yep, hit the portal if you want to. The other part of it that I can't wait to see what the outcome is that this tight end from Ole Miss, I guess they're going to counter sue for him to be able to remain on the team. And you know how
Hmm.
that is. That could possibly stay in court until January 25th for just the national
Right.
title game.
Right.
And he plays the year. So I've never been so confused about the landscape of college sports, but specifically college football. It just doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense. I can't believe that when they put this act together, that they didn't think, hey, we have this class that we've cut it off at. Should
Hmm.
we grandfather them in? It would have been a simple conversation and they could have avoided all of this.
True. Very true.
And now you're going to have to deal with these lawsuits because, with lawsuits, it can go any way now. You could have
Hmm.
probably avoided that. But with these lawsuits, you never know what's going to happen. And now you might be
But
forced
when
to
the
take some of these
22
guys. But
class is
again, I
in
know
there,
if it were me, I'm probably not gonna. I don't care how good a guy is and what he meant to my program. My team said I'm probably not taking you back.
Yeah, my whole thing that okay, actually that's a good point. If you've already filled your spots and you've already offered to people, they've already signed. Because I think you have to sign every year. I remember when I ran track, like kind of every
Mm-hmm.
year there was something I signed.
Yep.
Once they do that, it's like no, you're not going to take that away from somebody just so you can get this person. Or no,
Yeah.
only if you haven't filled your spot and they're in the portal, they're there. Okay, lucky you on both ends. But I like what you just said. I think that helped clarify something for my position. You can't if there's already commitments in writing, all the formal, I's and T's have been done. You can't take that from somebody to get
Yep.
one of these cats coming back.
That's why I'm curious to see what Kiffin did, especially knowing his history. Did you take somebody's spot away? I know there are a few schools that I've heard that held spots waiting for this situation, but man, I hope that he didn't take somebody's spot to
Right.
put this
Well,
kid on the roster.
That would be
well,
foul.
a lot of the teams, what they're doing with this now, this rule 105, where they give you 105 scholarships. From what I understand, is they don't give them all out. You might have 100 that you give out, and you got 5 people that are in limbo that you can cut. So that's going to be interesting to see if those other people, maybe he did hold back 5 spots, not just for this very reason, but if something else comes up, or if this person works out better than the other person, how does that work? Because I guess that's what all the judges said federally, 105 scholarships and 5 years. I don't want to hear all these other special circumstances. That's why they made it 5 years. But every time you change a rule, as long as the NCAA does not have authority, the new class I should say, the old class that's leaving, there'll be some questions about how they could have benefited from the rule that just happened. I think that's what everybody says is only going to benefit this class. I heard that in a lot of discussions on a lot of shows. But if the College Protect Sports Act comes up, and something federal comes up that says that something's different going to happen with eligibility, people, especially if one person of all those 12 gets to turn around, that means everybody's going to get a chance to turn around based on what the new eligibility rules are. I think that's what you have. But I mean, to me, and that's why I'm trying to figure out: are we calling these are college men, but are these professional college men, or are they amateur college men that have college football? And once you enter a pro camp, you become a pro. And that's the thing. You're trying out for a team, and you not just have an advantage. You just wonder if it takes out anything that's left of college football. I like the transfer portal. The other thing is, it was only supposed to be one pass at the transfer portal. This now gives us a second pass at the transfer portal that the people weren't really supposed to do. So it just keeps opening up something different.
Yeah, they keep moving the goalposts. But I think the only thing that will prevent what you're talking about, Big Dude, because I do agree with you, it's almost like when will it stop? I think that age caveat will be the only thing that saves this for going out of control. Now, what may happen, and that's why I thought about the age, because you could say somebody that said, well, I only played 3.5 years, so I might have some eligibility left. Yeah, but you 27 years old, Chief, so nah,
What they got
probably
to
not.
do with anything?
Because it's that starting when you turn 19. That's part of that College Protect Act. It's the 19 years old and then 5 years after that. So you can age out of playing as well. It's not like you had these 30-year-old
I
guys
can
playing
definitely see. I
college
can
football
definitely see some
recently.
lawsuits about that.
You couldn't these guys that are playing 29 to 30 years old now wouldn't have been able, they would have been done.
Yeah, I
They'd have
can
been
definitely
done.
see
So
some lawsuits if there's any type of age cutoff for this because there's no age cutoff to attend college in general. And so if you
true.
put an age just to play sports and you're making an assumption then that because of someone's age, that means that they're better. And we know that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, I think the way it's written, and certainly I could be looking at this totally wrong, is that clock starts ticking at 19. So you
Hmm.
can't compare it to a 19-year-old college student. It's a 19-year-old college student who started playing varsity sports, and the clock ticks once you start playing. But I'm
Yeah,
sure we'll
I
come
can
back to
definitely.
this.
Yeah, I'm
Sure, we'll
sure.
come back to this. I'm sure there's going to be plenty more lawsuits,
Yeah.
and I'm sure we're going to hear a lot about the guys who got kicked off teams because somebody made a spot for them. Can't wait till those social media posts starts happening so we could pull back the curtain and see what coaches are confirming their griminess. We already know who some of them probably are, but this will just confirm it. I hope that they honor the kids. And like I said, as much as I would be tempted to, I'm gonna honor my commitment to the kids I have on my team. And best of
Yeah,
luck to you. I'm sorry you didn't. Maybe you make a practice squad or something. I don't know what to tell you. You
right.
know, go hang out with Brendan Sorsby. He probably go to the draft next year. You can go back with him. I don't know what to tell you.
Y'all need to go to Canada. You can.
I go to exact. We keep look, folks. If you listen to us, we are strong believers in the Canadian Football League.
Oh
There's
yeah.
nothing wrong with it. The only reason I don't watch it is because their season is weird and I always forget when the season is. But
Right.
I used to watch it a lot when I was younger.
When
I think
Warren
the
Moon was
seasons,
there, I watched it quite a bit. When
yep,
Dave
I
Flutie was
watched it
there, I
all the
watched it.
time.
Hmm.
So the
Hey,
Canadian Football League is an opportunity.
right? Did y'all watch the pregame show from the 55-yard line?
I
Yeah,
have.
man.
I have. I absolutely have.
Yep.
Yep.
I mean, it was good
New,
football. So I mean, very competitive.
it is.
Wasn't
And a
like
lot of
dropping
recognizable
balls.
players up there. A lot of
Hmm.
recognizable players. And to me,
Yeah.
it's a
So
great conduit into the league. Go if you can ball, go up and ball, and then go to the league. Like you said, Warren Moon's a perfect example. Doug Flutie, a lot of people went up there and did work. So, anyways, best of luck.
yep.
Canada's not that bad. Cold winters, but you'll be all right.
No
All
doubt.
right, that'll be it for Around the Ring and News. Let's jump into the continuation of our division chase previews. We are going to start with the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys, I feel like I have no place to really make fun of them. I mean, they got responsible for two of my Super Bowl L's. However, you do have to live in the present, Cowboys fans, and you haven't done anything in a long time, and every year is always the year.
This is our
And
year.
honestly, this might be their year. The
Hey,
offense was the top ranked offense last year, and they needed to fix that defense. And from everything I'm hearing, the defense is cooking. You know, we already know Caleb Downs. We already knew that was going to be truth. They're putting him, they're putting his name in the sentence in terms of instincts with guys like Ed Reed and Ronnie Lott and all that. Obviously, not as big as those guys, but just born to play football. His instincts, the plays he's
mm,
making in camps are just blowing them away. And if you have that as kind of the anchor in the back end of your defense, a lot of good things could happen. Also, Malachi Lawrence, I hear, is doing really good things. They made some nice moves, I think, overall to upgrade that defense.
they
Big
did.
dude, I'm going to start with you, my friend. Your hated rivals, the Dallas Cowboys. What is your outlook for them for this upcoming season?
Well, what I've seen in camp is there's a lot of competition between positions. I know on the offensive line there are some, but you did mention the defense, and it seems like there are people that are still hanging around. I didn't know that would still even be around. Like they have, let's see, they have safety. In fact, he's from Bridgeton, Marquise Bell. I thought Marquise Bell would have long been going. You know, he's been the linebacker, the safety, and back to linebacker, but they're keeping him. Uh, and I say all around in there, they got rid of a few of the defensive backs, and then you have Overshown, DeMarvian Overshown, who I think is the leader of that defense. The question is, I think for the Cowboys altogether, is Jerry Jones going to let this Schottenheimer guy coach? You know, so anyway, I think with the Cowboys, a lot will have to do with whether they leave them alone and let them coach. They have the talent. Dak is 33 years old. He's probably had his best year, but he'll probably be okay again. Um, they have Pickett now. Now Pickett is now. What did they say? This possibly his last year. They hadn't re-signed. Did they re-sign Pickett? Or I know they were talking about it, and they hadn't re-signed George.
I thought they franchise tagged it, but I haven't heard
That,
anything about the
yeah,
future.
that's what they did. So he's going to play it. A lot of people won't play through that. So I think all those things are going to be important, but I think their offensive line is much better this year. Cowboys are going to be tough. I mean, as much as from a team standpoint, can't stand them. They're going to be tough, and I would say, not giving them any, like I said, because we'll talk about our projections, but I think that they're going to be in the race. The question is going to be when you look at the Cowboys. Let's see, their schedule's not necessarily an easy one. I mean, they play even from the other conference. They play Houston and Baltimore. In weeks 4 and weeks 5, those games are going to be important. In the NFC East, who wins out of those wins in the AFC, because a lot of those teams in the NFC East, I think, are going to split. So they start off with the Giants in Washington, and they should do just fine. But then you got Baltimore, and you have Texas, and then you have Tampa Bay, who's really good and really solid. And of course their battle with the Eagles it's a little later. It doesn't start till October, and then they battle with them later in the season. So I think right now, though, this is probably the best camp the Cowboys have had in years. I think they have depth. I think that they have the players, and they've even made good players out of some people y'all kind of laughed at. I asked who was a sleeper, and I told y'all about Drew Shelton from Penn State, and you guys like, he's a homer. He's a homer. Bruce Shelton has an outside chance. He probably won't start, but he has an outside chance to start. Not just make the team, but he has an outside chance to start. And he's a swing tackle, which I didn't think he would be either, to be honest with you. I said, well, because he started at Penn State for 3 years. So I have to give Jerry Jones credit on that. Not everybody they make a good player is a first-round pick. So I want to say the Cowboys in a race. Cowboys, beyond can't stand in them. It's going to be whether their offensive line, stays intact and whether they really have the depth on their offensive line. But I think in almost every position, the defense is going to be very good this year. And they're going to be up there somewhere.
Gee, you think Dallas can finally get a stranglehold on the NFC East and take it away from the Birds? What are your thoughts on them this upcoming season?
Not yet, but they're definitely going to give Philly, all they can handle in the race for this division. And I mean, I don't really have much to add to what Big Dude said. The only thing I can say is I do think the offense is set. And the defense, I mean, they put the pieces in place. So if they gel, great. If they don't have, if the back end is taken care of, they can be a lot more aggressive. They brought in a new defensive coordinator, so they can be a lot more aggressive if they have the secondary locked in. So we'll just have to see with them. But on paper, including what they did last year, I definitely think that they're the second best team in this division.
I'm glad you brought up the new DC, Christian Parker. He actually has a little bit of championship blood in him. He was on the Eagles' last Super Bowl team on that staff, was on the Green Bay and Denver staff, so really solid defensive pedigree there. I'm sure he learned a lot under Vic, especially. So it'll be interesting what he brings to Dallas if he can bring that level of toughness, because quite honestly, we haven't seen Dallas with a defense with the intensity that you see in championship teams probably since the Emmitt Smith, Irvin, Aikman years, to be quite honest with you. They just don't attack on defense. So we'll see if Christian Parker changes that for them. Next, the New York Giants. I'm not sure what they're making the New York Giants, but one thing I want to point out before we delve into them, something that probably goes by the wayside. We talked about Denver trailing in 15 games last year. The Giants lost 6 one-score games last year.
Mm.
1-7 in those games. Of course, we know that they had some injuries. They seem to be picking up a little bit of momentum once Scatterboo kind of got going, but then of course he got hurt. Dart was in and out. One of the big things with them, if they're going to go anywhere, if Jackson Dart is legit, he's going to have to protect himself, and he can
Yeah.
say whatever he wants to say. He made this comment about them being too quick to go to the blue tent, bruh. In
Yeah.
the preseason game, you were in the fetal position, not moving.
Right.
So
Right.
we supposed to just let you go to the sidelines, not like straight up fetal position, not moving, bro. And
Tell you,
like
bro.
if you hurt, you're hurt. If you're hurt, you hurt. Nobody plays football and doesn't take one, bro. Trust.
I'll
So
be
it's
honest with
okay.
you. Him and Scatterboo, their approach to the game is going to be New York's downfall. And the thing is, I respect their toughness. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this as a diss to them. I'm saying this with the understanding they're willing to put their bodies on the line versus playing in a way that, I mean, when you're playing football, of course your body's on the line, but they're probably willing to take some chances that could hurt themselves and they'll ultimately hurt the team. And so that's what scares me. And that's why I don't have them. That's why I have them kind of a mid team, because I know one or both of them are going to get hurt because just the way they play.
Yeah, gotta live for the next play, man. The reason I bring up that 1-7 is because bringing in an experienced guy like Harbaugh, no matter how we feel about him, he's been a successful coach in the league. Not probably. He has not won as much as he should have with the teams that he's had.
Yeah.
But he's a very good coach. And his coaching alone, I'm thinking 6 games, should have won half of those 6 games that they blew by 1 score, even though the Ravens have quite a history of blowing games recently. So I might want to rethink that one. But I would hope that Harbaugh brings some level of winning to them. I don't think it's going to be a major leap that Giants fans probably are hoping that they take. Certainly you have Malik Neighbors is coming back from injury. He'll make a difference. Remember, we haven't seen Dart with Neighbors yet.
True that.
So we don't know what that looks like.
They got Fields too as a rookie. So I mean they're gonna have they got some weapons. So I think they're gonna be good, but I'm just afraid the way Dart's got to play. So to your point about Harbaugh, hopefully with his stature and his success, hopefully they respect him enough to rein it in.
Yeah, Dart and Scatterb will definitely have to play differently. There's no doubt about it. Defensively, from the games that I watched last year, I felt like that was the Giants' big Achilles heel. And I know that they were young on offense, but they did some good things on offense last year. Arvell Reese, you got Colton Hood, the DB from Tennessee. You got Ben Barton, the D tackle that came over from the Jets. They got some nice pieces to add to their defense. So it'll be interesting to see how their defense progresses. And I think that'll tell us a lot about the Giants in the next few years moving forward. I don't know that I expect a whole lot of them this year. They're always competitive. It's, within the division, those games are going to be competitive. The Giants will play tough, but I don't see them really making any noise in terms of a threat to winning this division. What are your thoughts, big dude?
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. I mean, I think that the offense will be, it'll be solid. It'll be better than last year's. Now they have, I always say his name wrong, Francis Malinois, that we all talked about during the draft. So it's going to be interesting to see what that pickup is going to do. You have a young offensive lineman. He's a guy that can move and everything else. It'll be interesting to see what type of plays they'll use Scatterboo for. Whether it'll be misdirection or counters. And then of course their defense. Arvell Reese playing inside, I think is going to be important. I mean, you got him over there. You got Abdul Carter. And you got Burns, so you have a number of people, and I guess that's right. Thibodeau's back too, So they're pretty tight, as far as what they can get done on defense. I think I mentioned this when I talked about the Tennessee Titans. I think it will be better football. I think it will be inspired football. I'm not so sure how much of that will be winning football. And again, even though Scatterboot got through that ugly injury he had, I know he had that in the Eagles game, and it was a pretty ugly injury. You always wonder whether he will really be the same coming back as a running back. And if he weren't the same, and especially if they're going to play, you look and you see their tight ends that they have, and it looks like they're going to probably run 12, 13 personnel, and that's good. But you got to be able to get the ball downfield too. But I just keep hearing about Neighbors, and even now, if you look at him on some of these lists, he's still listed as somebody that's questionable. I mean, they're not sure if he's going to be together. So I'm concerned about that for the Giants, and I'd like to see the Giants have a better season. Except for us, of course. But when you look and you see that they have San Fran and they got Seattle and Jacksonville, within 3 or 5 weeks, those are going to be some games they need to win. You're going to have a Jackson Dart that is a much more mature Jackson Dart that can be smarter about how he plays football altogether. I think Harbaugh's attitude will put him in a better position to do that. I think that was an excellent choice for the Giants to have as a coach. I know he brought in some people, but he's going to have to really trust Jackson Dart and give him more authority, probably than he deserves because he hasn't been there that long. But that's where it's going to, the rubber, I think, really meets the road. But they are a team, they have some good players. They also on the O-line, you got John Runyon's kid that's also starting at guard. He's there this year. And then, of course, tight end, Isaiah Likely and Theo Johnson. Having those type of tight ends that, have been around, I think is going to be important. So I think this is going to be a year where I know they got to get downfield, but Jackson Dart has to perfect given what the defense takes him to begin with and then go downfield. But there has to be some threat downfield with Neighbors and also with Slayton. Slayton has got to come up big this year.
All right, let's move on to the Philadelphia Eagles, the two-time defending NFC East champion, which doesn't happen a lot in that division. No one ever wins it twice in a row, and the Eagles go for 3. The Eagles, I mean, what is there to really say about the Eagles? I mean, obviously, I think a lot for them was overshadowed by this A.J. Brown situation, but that's done now. He's gone. And I got to say, just my observations, it looks like a very relaxed camp. Like they seem loose. They seem free. There's no drama. It seems like it's a team again. I think Jalen Hurts is going to have another good year. I think he's consistent. I don't think we have to worry about him. I think what I'm looking for the Eagles to do is get back to Barkley. Feel like, we know a lot of that had to do with Kevin Patullo's play calling last year. I don't know what dude was smoking, but their game plan offensively, their game plans made no sense. And the Eagles defense is going to be strong again. I mean, I don't really have a whole lot to say about them other than I like what they did in the draft. I think the rookies that they brought in are just going to make them better. Mekhi Lemon is back in now. Looks like he's healthy, and he's been doing some damage the last few days. Eli Stowers, the tight end from Vandy, is looking good. So now that gives them 2 strong tight ends. And Markel Bell's doing well to tackle the 6'9" cat, right? That's how tall he was, I believe, from Miami's doing good. Other than that, also, you guys have an undrafted free agent. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. Kapina Gushikin, defensive back, played for Ole Miss and Washington. He is crushing it, and he's an undrafted free agent, so he has a good chance of making the squad, which will be interesting. But I don't really have much to say about the Eagles. I think in this division is going to be them in Dallas, like it really typically is. I mean, Washington caught lightning in a bottle a couple years ago, but I think it comes down to Eagles and Dallas in this division.
They have a new OC too, right?
Yes, Sean Mannion. Yep.
Yeah, and I really think that he's going to probably work much better with Hurts.
Well, it can't be as bad as his Patullo cat last year. I'll tell you that much.
But
That was
I'll leave
bad.
that up to Big Dude, our resident
That
Eagle
was just
expert.
bad.
But that was
Absolutely.
horrible.
It
When
was.
they
It
brought
really
him
was. It was
in, I was
hard.
just like, why? But
It was
okay.
so hard to watch. It was so predictable. Situationally, his calls didn't make any sense. It was just bad. And the defense was too good to keep getting put in those situations. And that I think that ultimately hurt them at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the year. The defense was out there too much. Every
Entirely.
time the defense has got to save the day. And, you compliment each other, but one side of the ball can't be the savior for a full season. It's just not going to work like that.
Right.
Not too many times in history we can count on one hand easily where we saw a team get through like that.
People say defense wins championships. I was thinking yesterday, I'm like, I think it's more accurate to say defense protects wins because if
I like that.
you get up, your defense has to keep you up.
That's true.
And I think that if you have your offense together, your defense,
Mm-hmm.
I think they're gonna be better this season. I feel so. But you know what? I'm gonna defer to Big Dude.
No, no,
I like that
I
idea.
agree.
I like that idea because if you have a good offense, your defense shouldn't have to shut people out. I think we have conversations all the time when we look at some of these games and we're like, a team should not have lost a game and their defense only gave up 13 points.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? That shouldn't happen in the NFL. But big dude, we are clearing out, baby. Floor is yours for your Eagles.
Well, I think I agree with almost all of what you were saying. I mean, I think they did a good job with the draft. They got a tremendous signing, Reek Woolen, who was playing lights out at first. It's hard to tell where people are coming from. They're like, what did they sign him for? He's not doing nothing. Then all of a sudden, he gets a couple of interceptions, and he's in that game with not well with Baltimore, and people didn't know what to say. Then all of a sudden, in all the other practices and all those other things, he's doing well and he's picking off Hurts. That must mean Hurts isn't too good. Now they're saying that Hurts has thrown 13 picks in preseason. That's the most he's ever thrown in 4 years. And I'm like, well, maybe nobody else could go. What if all that's out the window? I would say that the
This is
Eagles
the
are
time
in,
to do it.
yeah, the Eagles are in good shape. They are they're linemen. They're back Landon Dickerson, and you also have their center in the same way. They both had to get that stem cell surgery, and and they both got it, which is great. Cam Jurgens, and they both went to South America for it. So that tells you something, and you hope they're okay. They did have some good backups also. Drew Kendall, I don't know if you all remember Pete Kendall that used to play for the 49ers. I think he was a
Mm-hmm.
receiver. His son, Drew Kendall, plays guard and center for the Eagles. So they brought him around, and of course, trying to find out what the situation is with the wideouts. I know Guru, you're a big Dontavian Wicks fan. He apparently had a great camp and needed to because we have these nagging injuries with Devontae Smith and
Mm-hmm.
also with Mekhi Lemon, who is better. And I'm glad he is because we need him to be better. We have a lot of wide receivers, but I think I'm with you, G, on this whole new OC thing. I think that it's probably better for him to rely on Hurts because he's never called a play in an NFL game. I mean, I keep hearing that he's the smartest guy in the room. I don't know how you can be the
Mm.
smartest guy in the room and never call NFL play. Now, I don't know if y'all know people that have a magic hat and a magic wand, because I don't. I don't think it works that way. That's why you got to rely on a older and mature quarterback. So I think their
So hold on,
offensive line
y'all OC has never called a game.
has never, 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 never
Steph,
called a play.
it can't get worse than it was last year. That'd be the least of
Well,
my worries. That'd be the
I
least of
I
my
I, I
worries.
hope not. But you know what though? I'm okay with what you just said. What I don't want to hear anymore, because we don't know what's going to happen. I think that the players are good enough to overcome mistakes from coaches, because that's what happened last year, to even get to the playoffs. I just don't want to speak in superlatives. People have got to stop doing that, saying the most and the smartest. Let's stop all that. Let's see.
Yeah, that means nothing. That means
Yeah.
nothing at this point. Yeah, I don't care. I don't listen to any of that stuff.
No, but this is something that takes up a lot of airtime. That's what I'm saying. So, and looking at all the other things, I mean, they've signed Jordan Davis, they signed Jalen Carter. Our defensive line should be the best in the NFL, and I can say that without blinking my eye. The defensive line is the best in the NFL, even without our friend Jonathan Greenard. I say our friend because, brother, we haven't seen nothing from you. I know you're out. I don't know how you're going to just come back in and show us something. You didn't do much last year, but you're here. You got the good contract, and we'll see what happens at linebackers. There is a big competition at linebacker. That's not so clear anymore. Everybody thought Jahad Campbell was the clear starting linebacker, and now Vic Fangio has basically said that Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is outplaying Campbell, which is interesting because they both are playing outstanding. And I've seen them in some of the practice videos. I've seen them in the preseason games. I think Jahad Campbell is more athletic, and the other gentleman, Trotter Jr., I think he's more about diagnosing plays and hitting gaps. So it's almost like if you could ever build a linebacker, you could put 2 in 1. But you have those type
of first world problems.
Maybe. Maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
I'm not hearing anything. I'm not hearing any concerns about your defense. That's
basically you saying y'all
not just concerns, but here's what has to happen. It has to be consistency. I think the defense is going to be very good.
Right?
Huh?
Yeah, like come on, man. We watching the same team or?
Yeah, I am. You know, and I guess I'm looking at it I'm looking at it from a coach's standpoint. I'm not even looking at it from the media.
He's talking like we should be talking about our teams, G, with hope.
I know, right?
Well, like I said, we have an offensive coordinator that has never called an NFL play. Now, if y'all can tell me that y'all have that, that's okay.
Can I see your shiny Super Bowl ring from 2 years ago?
But from a guy that called plays before. That's what I'm saying. This is a guy that's only been an NFL coach for 3 years, including this year. So, anyway, y'all are funny.
But, Eagles. Poor Eagles.
Make it fun. That's why your offense is going to be fun.
Exactly. You already see it. You already see the plays they're dialing up. The stuff I saw the other day that they were dialing up to get Lemon open, I'm like, my goodness, if they're doing stuff like that, geez, God bless the rest of the NFC.
They get ready to be wide open. Mark my words. Philly's going to be wide open.
Yep. We'll see. Got to block and you got to tackle. And you got to cover.
I don't see any weaknesses. They've the last, I don't know how many years, they've tackled like demons. Your offensive line is always one of their best lines in the league. I know it's older, but still great. I wish I could find a weakness, and probably the only weakness is the OC that's never called the play before.
Right. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, if that's the case, unless everybody else is stupid, how come they're only giving the Eagles 10 and 11 wins at the most? See, because what you're talking about is
schedule.
It's a 13.
That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't mean anything.
Well, that's what I'm saying. See, to me, that's what evens it out. It's not so much about whether their weaknesses, can they get through this particular schedule that they have, you know. And they play the Rams again this year. I didn't think we were playing the Rams in Jacksonville and Carolina and Chicago in a row. So we better have that stuff solved. And Barkley, I don't know if he's going to get 2,000 yards, but our line has got to stay healthy. That's if all things stay equal. We're in really good shape, I think, to win the division. I think we are. But guess what? That didn't get us anywhere last year. So I'm looking at that terrible loss at home, and that's what's in my mind. And in order for them not to think that, like in that run that I just told you, they've got to win 3 out of those 4 games.
And that's the
And
thing is,
they
I
got
think
to
they
beat
can.
Dallas twice.
That's the thing. I really think they can. Now, when they play the Rams, yeah, that's going to be tough. No doubt
Yeah.
about it. That's going to be tough. But I think that if they come in and play, NFC smash mouth football, they can give the West Coast Cats. They can give them a run. So I don't know, man.
And
I just think that they are the best in this division, arguably one of the best in that conference.
yeah. And the thing about a team like the Eagles, and and like I said, being a Bills fan, if I was an Eagles fan, the only thing I'd be worrying about is getting in the playoffs, which you're going to get in the playoffs
Yep.
because what you're doing up to then, you're trying to stay healthy. Of course, you want the number 1 seed and all that. But the Eagles are a team that could just run through the playoffs. Don't matter what the seed is. You're that good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get some first time stuff and all of that. I understand all that. But if you don't realize that you're one of the premier franchises by now, I don't know what will make you realize that. Because from the outside looking in, I don't see any weaknesses. And even though dude hasn't called any plays, I'm like, okay, but I think they know what they're doing. I trust them. I mean, more times than not, Patullo was a mistake, but 9 times out of 10, you guys make the right decisions in terms of staffing. I'm not a Nick Sirianni guy, but I think even he hasn't messed this up. As bad as he's been, big dude, he has not messed this up.
Okay.
That's how good you are. That's how good your team is. That's how good your team is.
All right. Well, gentlemen, I defer to you on the rest.
They'll be like 13-0, and big dude will be like, yeah, man, I just hope it doesn't snow today.
But I get where big dude is coming from, because Philly is one of those teams that are out there that you have the pieces, but if something freak or you have a dumb coach that's just messing everything up, and so it's just kind of like, oh, I know we're there, but it's like we're waiting for the thing that's going to screw it up.
And I think too, big dude, you can correct us if we're wrong. I think you feel like there should be more of a yield from this run, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, a little bit more.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, okay, we got a ring, Mickey, but I feel like we should have 2 or 3. I feel you. I feel you. I get it. I definitely get it. But you'll be fine, man.
Yeah.
You'll have
a lot of nice, without AJ.
You'll have a lot of nice sleeps. Nice Sunday night sleeps.
Well, what do they say? From your mouth to God's ears, right?
All right. The Washington Commanders. Washington Commanders. I don't see anything positive happening for this franchise this year unless I got them dead last in the division. I don't like where Jaden Daniels' head is right now. Yeah. I don't like their personnel. I don't like their roster. Stephon Diggs, good luck with that. And you got a tough schedule. I mean, you're in a tough division. We can say what we want to say about the Giants, but the Eagles and Cowboys are going to be hell. I think the Giants are always a pain to play, and they'll be more of a pain now. I don't know what the identity of this Washington team is. I don't think that they're anything near what they were 2 years ago when they lucked up on the NFC Championship game. I just think they caught lightning in a bottle that year. I don't think they're a very good team right now. And as I went through their schedule,
didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to fill in some pieces. Yeah, they're trying to fill in some pieces. They had a couple of good free agency pickups. I really like Leo Chenal from Kansas City. He's a ball hawk. But in this division, I just don't see them getting over the hump. They'd be lucky if they're not the last place team, in my opinion. That's all I got on the Commanders.
Yeah, I just have them that they're really in rebuild mode. And actually, that's kind of a theme for this whole division in some ways, is they're rebuilding, particularly New York and Washington, and then Dallas is, they rebuilt their defense. But yeah, I don't have much else to say either, Guru. They're rebuilding. They brought in some pieces where they could, but we'll see.
Yeah,
that's all that I can say.
I hope that they're at least competitive. Yeah, I hope that they at least play some competitive games.
Well, I'm
Well,
hoping
uh,
because I had Jaden Daniels on my fantasy football team, so like,
You drafted already?
oh no, he's a keeper from last season.
Oh, okay. You're in the keeper league. Got you.
Yeah,
What are your thoughts, big dude, on the Commanders?
yeah, pretty much the same. I mean, look, they start off with Philly, Dallas, and Seattle out of the gate. Philly, Dallas,
Done.
Seattle.
Done.
They play Indianapolis, and they play the Giants. Then they play San Francisco, and then
bro, they
they're
gonna get
back to Philly. That's just not good.
not good at all.
They
I
had some good pickups. Adolphe, the defensive end. They have the athletes and players and pieces, but nothing cohesive that's going to
Right.
get them back, like you said, to 2024, which was a very good team. But I just don't know if they're going to get back to that for a while.
Yeah, I have them winning, I think, one game before we get to close to Christmas holiday. I think I got one win for them.
Oh God, bro, I don't think I have it that
One.
bad. I have to go back and look.
One win?
I'm gonna look at it again, but I got them picking up a few cheapies late. But
Yeah, they
tough
have
schedule.
They
They
This
could
season's
be.
gonna be over. This season's gonna be over before it gets started. Just like you said, if they somehow, I mean, they're not gonna beat Philly, Dallas, or Seattle.
No, I
That's
don't
not
see that.
happening.
Nope.
Nah,
Nope.
nope. So I think we all agree that this division is a two-horse race. And I'm going to say one thing about that. Those two games that they play against each other are going to be more important than ever this year, the Dallas Philly games, because those may be the deciding games. And if who can steal the games against the NFC West, if you can get some of those games off, that might be the difference in the division. I have them neck and neck
That's gonna be a tough ass right
almost.
there, bro.
It
That's a
is.
tough
It is.
ass.
And I think the Eagles are built more for the Seattle and Rams games, I think, than Dallas is
I
right now.
agree.
But we'll see when we get to that point. And I think those are going to be the difference makers. The
I
only
agree.
thing is Dallas has to go on the road against both of them. And it looks like the Eagles are home against both, which helps. It's super helpful for the
Yeah.
Eagles.
Yeah. I project Philly will win this one, and they'll get there. They'll probably be a 2 seed. I'm thinking.
Yeah, right now I got them neck and neck. I'll reevaluate before our final, but I have them identical. 'Cause I don't have either of them beating the Rams or Seattle right now, but that was just my first
Of course.
run through, you know. So when I look at it again, we'll see. But I think the NFC East, like I said, is pretty obvious. Big dude, your thoughts, boys, three-peating this bad boy on them or what?
Yeah, it should happen.
That's what I wanted. That's the confidence I want to hear.
Right. Be honest.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I want to hear, damn it.
it should happen. I mean, whether it will, I mean, it should. Like I said, and
It should happen.
I'm just being honest. Like I said, it's not about whether I'm a Sirianni guy. I'm not a big Sirianni guy. Let me put it
I'm
that
not
way.
either. I'm
But
not
my
either.
biggest issue is whether he has to rely on Sirianni for the offense. That's my biggest issue.
I don't think he will. I don't think he will. I think that it seems like there's a good chemistry. And like I say, you know a little bit more
Mhm.
than we would. You're closer. You're up in that area, but they seem like they have a better chemistry already on offense. And people talking about the Jalen interceptions. Come
Yeah,
on, man. Like it's camp. Like, come on.
right.
And you're going against you're going against probably the
Yep.
best defense in the league.
Yeah,
So I would hope that it's not easy for him to go through your defense.
that's
And
right.
I suspect they're just trying some new things. I wouldn't be surprised.
Exactly.
New,
Exactly.
new OC,
Exactly.
new blood. I mean, and this is the time during training camp, during preseason, try those things out. I mean, you already know what he can do. Now we're trying to
Yep.
figure out what else can he do.
Exactly. And you know Jalen's not that dude. He turns the ball over here and then, but he is not a turnover machine. So,
Yep.
he'll throw the ball away before most quarterbacks will. He'll do what he needs to do. I'm not worried about people
Very.
put a little bit too much stock into what's happening in this preseason. Like everybody's like, "Oh, your boys are blowing teams out." Like, yeah, you know what happens when teams go 4-0 and 3-0 in preseason, don't you?
Right.
So,
They
so I'm a
roll.
little scared right now. I don't want all that stuff. Be bad right now. Get the kinks out, man.
That's what
Be
I
Exactly.
say.
nasty.
Yeah,
Exactly.
push the ball. And I think honestly too, he's been trying to push the ball downfield more, and he's making plays that he probably couldn't have made. Like I said, with Wicks, that's why I started realizing he's a little bit different. That he can stretch the field if he has to.
Yeah, and you got pretty much a new receiving core. You got to try some stuff like G said. He's
Mm-hmm.
got to learn their tendencies. They have to learn his. You'll be just fine. You'll be just fine. I'm not even worried about you. Let's go to the NFC North. This division is going to be a beast. We'll start in Chicago. Going to say the Monsters of the Midway, but I guess not for much longer with this weird move to Indiana. But everybody's really high on Chicago. I am not overly high on them. They had a great season last year, obviously, under Ben Johnson in his first year. Caleb grew a lot. I'm not going to totally jump on their bandwagon yet. I don't even consider them to be the best team in the NFC. I'm not going to even go out on the limb and say they're the best team in their division yet. They got to show me a little bit more than that because this is a tough division. I still think Detroit's probably the best team in the division, but we'll see that play out on the field. But with Chicago, I love everything they did. I understand why they let DJ Moore go. They have a pretty solid receiving core. We'll see how that works out for them. But what I do love is their rookies. You know that we were all high on Dylan Thieneman, the safety out of Oregon. Malik Muhammad from Texas, the cornerback, is a little bit lower than I anticipated in terms of draft, but he's doing well. And Jordan Vandenberg, the defensive tackle, who was a 6th-round pick, is killing it for them. Other than that, they got some free agents. Kobe Bryant's another one. We were talking about injuries. The safety from Seattle, I believe he's hurt. They got
Mhm.
Devin Bush, the linebacker, and a few other D-line signings. So I think the big thing for them was shoring up their defense, especially their run defense. I think they led the league in interceptions last year, but their run defense was not that great.
Mm.
But for Chicago, I expect them to keep growing. They learned how to win, but they didn't quite close the deal. They had the Rams on the ropes and couldn't quite finish it. So I look for them to take that next step to learn how to close the deal. But I don't think I necessarily have them coming out of the NFC. What are your thoughts on the Bears?
I think the Bears, like you said, they have a good roster. And again, like I said, in their schedule's not bad actually. You know, they do have in a row New England, Seattle, and Tampa Bay, and then of course you got Detroit twice. I think Detroit is going to be tough also. But they have the quarterback. You know, he made the big plays last year. The question is, can he start all over and take a run at some things? I think they had a few also key retirements last year. Can they get over those people that retired up front? And can their O-line steer DeAndre Swift into a season where he can get 1,200 yards? You know, I think that's what's going to be the difference. He's going to need to get 1,200 yards to make a difference. You got to be able to run the ball, and they always have the stud linebackers. So I think that their defense is another team where I think the defense is tough. You mentioned Dylan Thieneman before. I also say if T.J. Edwards, their middle linebacker, who used to play for the Eagles, who I can't believe we let get away, uh, does a great job again with his leadership. But they are, I think, solid across the board. The question is, can they get off to a good start? They should be able to get off to a good start because at the end, it's a lot tighter for them. But they have the players. The O-line is tough. And, you know, they're a good team. You know, are they going to necessarily win a division? They'll battle for it.
Yeah, that's where I am. I really don't have. I have zero to add to that, except that they're solid and they're going to be in a hunt.
I'll be interested to see what Monangai can do based on the year that he had last year. I know he's hurt right now.
Forgot
He's
about
week to
him.
week, but I'm thinking if him and Swift can at least combine for 17, 1,800 yards, I mean, they're capable of 2,000, but I think Chicago passes quite a bit. But if they can get into that 17, 1,800 yards rushing, that would benefit them well, especially as it gets cold within that division. That would benefit them. But moving on to the Detroit Lions.
Ooh, they got a cakewalk of a schedule.
Yeah, they had a rough year last year. Their schedule is definitely a bounce back schedule. If I ever saw one, man, definitely need to look at theirs again because I got them winning way too many games. But um, yeah, they do have a nice schedule. They have some games that could go either way. Certainly, the Buffalo New England ones. I think they got a couple of trick ones too, but for the most part, I agree with you on that. G, definitely their schedule is not the most challenging. I still think they're probably the most talented team in the division. A lot of tough luck last year, a lot of injuries. The one thing that I was worried about with them was losing David Montgomery, but I think they'll probably be fine. I mean, Jameer Gibbs definitely was just a wrecking crew last year, and I expect him to have a really big year, even probably his best year of his career. Got a nice new contract, so he should be ready to roll. I'm kind of expecting Detroit to get back to where they were the year they lost to San Francisco in the NFC Championship game. I'm looking at that level of Detroit for this
Oh
year.
man.
So we'll see. But I think that we're going to find out the future of this team this year. One thing that I do want to mention before I turn it over is I've always liked Jared Goff, but we might be approaching that time where Detroit might want to think about his successor if they want to keep this train rolling the way it is.
Yeah, because I
And
think that
that's
the offense still it didn't seem like it was gelled enough last season, and so they really need to all get on the same page. Because you're right, they definitely have talent on paper, but what Big Dude constantly says is that you still have to be able to play together in order to win.
mm-hmm,
And I think that's what I'm going to be looking at. Defensively, the pass rush was an issue, so we'll see if they fix that or not. And I do know they have an offensive tackle, Miller, who's set to start. So that
mm-hmm.
I don't know how well he's been doing, in camp and preseason. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not as hopeful as you are, Guru. But I also
Mm-hmm.
don't think that they're going to be like a doormat of the division either. So I think they're going to
Yeah.
be pretty solid, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that having Isaiah Pacheco added on to the team will take some carries off of Gibbs with their wideouts, especially Amon-Ra St. Brown, him having another good year. But it seems like somebody else has got to make some inroads for him. They have their good old line, Juice Struggs, he's there now at center. So he's a pretty smart player from what we've seen in the last couple of years. He's been in a few places. And Blake Miller, we'll see how that goes, him at right tackle. So I think that if they have a solid offensive line and they still got Hutchinson back and he's, healthy, that's we haven't heard as much from, but he's got to have a big year. I don't know how many more big years he has left, but I think that defense will make it tough for other folks. To be honest with you, I'm not too sure about the quarterback position either. It's the only thing to me that keeps them from being the favorite for the division. But I think their quarterback, the question is going to be is how limited is it going to be with what else he can do? We know he's not going to be able to do it with his legs, but something different has got to happen for them to protect him. I know the defense will protect him, kind of like you said, G, to keep him from losing the game and protect the leads. I don't know if they're going to be able to score a lot of points, but I think that they will out tough people to a lot of those wins, especially later on. I'm going to say Detroit's going to be a pretty solid and pretty physical, and I will say a team that doesn't make a whole lot of mistakes. I don't see a lot of turnovers from them.
Yeah,
So
I
I
think
think
that
Detroit.
Detroit is one of those teams that I don't think that they're gonna like win a whole lot of. They're not contending for the championship for that division. but they're one of those teams that people probably not going to want to play.
Yeah.
It's going to be a tough game.
But I think that's for most of the year, and I think that's what makes their team different. For most of the year, there is no slack. We're playing Detroit, and even looking at some of the people that are their backups, they're all familiar names. Like Avonte Maddox is a second string strong safety. He used to play for the Eagles. Nick Whiteside. All those other people are people that they're happy to make the team, and they realize they have to make a difference. I think that'll be the difference with Detroit too. Their depth.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up that last part, big dude. They do have some injury issues, especially on the back end of the defense. Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph, both in the defensive secondary, coming off season-ending injuries. So we'll have to watch that. And Sam Laporta, the tight end that was once all-world, is not 100%. He had a hip injury that they weren't sure whether it was going to require surgery or not. And I still don't know where that is, but it looks like he's back from it. He's going to try to play through it. It's probably going to be playing hurt the whole time. So that's not going to be fun. But I think if you saw, he started to get injured a lot, and that impacted their offense significantly. But we'll see what happens. The other thing with them is I really wish they would have gone out and gotten a bigger receiver, because I like Amon St. Brown, but man, you get beat up a lot. He started to get hurt last year, and I'm wondering if he's at that point of his career that the physical, because he's a physical player for his size, that the physicality is starting to catch up with him. We'll definitely find out this year one way or another, but we'll see. I think they're going to win a lot of games, but it could definitely go the other way too. We shall see. The Green Bay Packers. This is kind of the team to me that I've been waiting for. I'm waiting for the Jordan Love explosion that we thought we saw it in Dallas, and we're like, uh-oh, another contender in the NFC, and then it's just been downhill since then. So I was like, let me do a little digging on him, because I thought he was having a fairly good career, but I'm also guilty of dogging him, and he gets dogged a lot. And I found it interesting that he's pretty comparable to where Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre were in their career at this time. So I'm going to throw a few numbers out at you guys. Completion percentage, he sits right alongside them. They're all 63%, 64% at this point in their careers. His touchdown to interception ratio, 47-21. Favre was 31-30. We knew that, though. And Rodgers, exactly. Exactly. And Rodgers was 45-18, so he's kind of ahead of them there. His passer rating is right in alignment with where they were. Now, looking at playoffs, he's 1-3. That wild card went over the Cowboys in 23. Rodgers was 0-1 just to play a wild card appearance up to this point in his career, and Brett Favre was 4-3 and had gone to a championship game. However, Brett Favre was on a monster team. That was a Reggie White team, if you remember. But what I found interesting, fourth quarter comebacks. Jordan Love 8, Aaron Rodgers 2, Brett Favre 6 at this juncture of their career. Now, that's not what I feel like I've been seeing. And one of the things that I also thought about is Brett Favre was kind of a rock star by this point. Rodgers kind of always was a polarizing personality. But I think I heard someone say Jordan Love, like, I don't even know what he does in the offseason. I don't know what he does off the field. Like, we don't know anything about him, not a whole lot of personality. And I'm wondering why he might not get a little bit more love, because he's right there with their previous franchise quarterbacks. So I just wanted to throw that out there at you guys. It's not as bad as it looks for him. And that's how I was looking, G, like, But outside of that, I'm not big on Green Bay. Having said all that, I still don't trust Jordan Love when it's winning time. So I guess the big thing for me is for the Packers. We know they've had some injuries. I think they've assembled what could be the makings of a great defense. But can Jordan Love take the next step offensively to take them to where they need to go? Because they have glimpses at times. Like when they play Chicago, he looks like he's ready to beat the world until they do something stupid and give Chicago the game. Outside of that, he's just not consistent enough for me. So that's why it was a little bit surprising that he was so close to those guys.
I think it's, 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 I And part of me wonder if is it because he um he came after Aaron Rodgers,
Mm-hmm.
and I wonder if people are putting the later career Aaron Rodgers or the mid late career Aaron Rodgers on him and expecting him to lift the team up.
Mm-hmm.
And also thinking about the division that they're in. I mean, it's not an easy division
It's
by
not.
any stretch. And for a long time, Green Bay was, they were, the king of the hill. So I'm wondering if some of it is that. Some of it is unlucky to come after Aaron Rodgers and
Mm-hmm.
be at a time when Chicago, and now we'll get to Minnesota, but now that Minnesota are both on a come up. And I'm wondering if that's what's happening to him. And so it kind of distorts what he's actually doing.
That's a great point because I definitely say the division was nowhere near as competitive when definitely when Rodgers was there. And I'm pretty sure Detroit was probably the doormat when Favre was there. So and Chicago. So
Yeah.
I think Chicago came up a couple of times under Rodgers when they had Jay Cutler, but I believe you're right. The division was not competitive, and that does change the complexion of things for sure.
Hmm. So that's the
What
only
are
thing
your
I really
thoughts?
have to say about Green Bay. They added some pieces on the back end. Well, I think it was good. The offense, I think, is going to actually be fine.
Hmm.
I really think that if the defense plays its part, yeah, I think it can take some of the pressure off the offense.
And they need a healthy Josh Jacobs. He has to stay healthy this year if at all possible because when he's healthy, it makes things a lot easier for that offense when they know that
Yeah.
he's running at his best. There's not a lot of pressure on Love, keeps the
Hmm.
defense off the field.
Mm.
Um, Big dude, chime in, please, on the Green Bay Packers.
Well, I mean, and the thing about Love, I'll just add on to really what y'all said about Love. I agree with you all or at. I mean, I think what people have to understand because of that runaway thing that Green Bay had with the division, I think everybody's looking at. I say, especially even him too. They look at that quarterback as having a cape on. Now you can't do no wrong. A Green Bay quarterback can't do a whole lot of wrong, and this is a
Hmm.
guy when they see you make a couple of plays, you don't make a couple, you make them all. And
Hmm.
sometimes you're making them over. What else isn't going on there? There's questions about that coach and how that coach got to keep his job. To be quite
Hmm.
frank, and whether they're using Jordan Love right. And then you got to have a healthy Christian Watson this year. You know, and it's got to be more than just you're stretching the field, as Guru said. You're banging the ball, having a healthy offensive line, and then their defense, which there's really not much of a problem with. I still say they're not the same defense without Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons again,
Yeah.
week 5. Did they say he was coming back, or was it week 6?
I saw 6.
Okay, I was guessing that off the top of my head. I know that he's out, and it's just different when you're missing a football player like that's in there. It's not even just about his ability; it's the effect he has on the game. It's
Yep.
what people really feel confident about what they can do on defense if he's in there, because a lot of his abilities and his other things it makes up for what other people lack.
Mm.
So looking at, I think they also got Zaire Franklin. I think that used to play for the Colts. So they are, I would say, solid. I would say that they have a chance to be somewhere in the mix this year. I think a lot of it's going to have to do whether they can run the football and whether Jordan Love can make it through the schedule that they have. I mean, they not bad, too bad in the beginning, but then they got Chicago, Dallas, Detroit, Carolina, and New England. That's that's the run they have to go through, and
Mm.
especially they're going to New England. They have to go to Detroit, and they got Chicago at home, and they got Dallas at home, but going to be difficult games. The question is
Yeah.
going to be who is going to step up, especially on offense, and hopefully Josh Jacobs is the one that makes a difference. That's how they're going to end up bringing them closer to a Super Bowl. They're going to have to make him eat, and their depth probably isn't as good as Detroit, but they do have a solid roster. Do they have the best roster? Probably not, but their roster is pretty solid. And look who else they play. They play L.A. Rams, Buffalo, and of course Chicago, and then Houston, and then Detroit.
They got it rough.
Yeah.
They
So
got it rough.
with
They're going to be
the
competitive, but they got it rough.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think they'll be competitive with the opportunity of being a little bit better, but I don't know what that translates into in terms of the number of wins. There are no slouches, there are no pushovers. They have the players. Without Micah Parsons, it's going to be a rough stretch. So week 6 is Dallas. Let's hope he's there for that game because they're going to need him. But they also, needed him before that, because he's back for Dallas. That's good because then they got Detroit and Carolina and New England and Minnesota. Let's not slouch on them either. I know we're going to discuss them later, soon, I should say. But I would say a competitive team with a chance to at least be seen this year.
They have a chance to get out of the gate 3-0, possibly 4-0 with those first few games. But I got to tell you, I do not have them winning a lot of games after it gets cold, fellas.
Yeah, me either.
I have to go back and look at their schedule. But just from what Big Dude said, man, I'm like, it's going to be some good games, but
it's rough.
I don't know.
It's rough. They'll have a shot at the division, but I think that they had a good rookie class, and I think this might almost be a growing pain season. So they had Brandon Cisse, our guy from South Carolina, the cornerback. Chris McClellan, the defensive tackle. Your guy, Big Dude, Danny Dennis Sutton, who's having a great camp.
Yeah.
Domani Jackson, the cornerback from Bama, give him some depth. And they did a good job on the offensive line. They have a couple of rookies pushing for some starting spots. So I think that they brought in some good young players, but I am not in love with their roster overall. I don't like their wideouts at all.
No.
But that's just me, and I think that would help Jordan Love if they could get the next caliber of wideouts. I mean, Christian Watson's fine and all that, but I'm not losing sleep because we play Christian Watson tomorrow.
Right.
So if he can get one of those big name guys on the outside, that will help. But they have a juggernaut of a schedule to get through. So God bless them. We'll see who they are the first month of the season. That's for sure. Because there's some winnable games, and if they don't take care of business there, then it'll be bad.
Yep.
But we'll finish up with the Minnesota Vikings.
Ouch.
I was so ready to bury this team based on everything that was going on with J.J. McCarthy. I think it's a great pickup for them to get Kyler Murray. I don't really care what people say, and I know that he has some challenges, but don't get it twisted. He had Arizona cooking, and, they just didn't have the right matchups really came playoff time, to be quite honest with you. That was a tough matchup that year. Weren't they like 15-1 or something crazy like that year? I thought they were the number 1 seed in the NFC that year. If not, they were at the top. And we know he's had some injuries, but I think we're going to see Kyler Murray ball out. I mean, dude can ball. He's one of those people that, remember they used to say if AI was 6'6", this is the football. If Kyler Murray was 6'6", this would be a different narrative right now.
Totally.
I think he's going to have a bounce back year. I'm still picking them to finish last in this division, but I wouldn't be surprised. I've heard a lot of people that have them surprisingly. A lot of people I respect have them winning this division, and I don't know how they'll do it.
Think about their wideout.
I'm looking now. Jawan Jennings.
You have them winning it? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Wow.
I think Kyler Murray is going to rejuvenate that offense because they have the weapons.
They have studs on the outside.
Take advantage of it. Yes, they do. Here's a note I have. Y'all probably going to think that this is just one of those clickbait hot takes. But look, man, I have visions of the Culpepper years with Minnesota going through my mind when they made that
I can see
announcement.
that.
I was
I
like,
can
oh
see
my
that.
gracious, this dude, because he's gonna throw, he's gonna use his leg when he needs to, because he's a professional enough now that he's not gonna make some of those crazy runs that he did at Arizona unnecessarily at times. But oh man, look, they have some dynamic years ahead. I think he's on a 1 year contract with them.
Probably.
And
Probably
so
able to prove it.
he has something to prove. Now they do have two rookie defensive tackles, I think.
Hmm.
But I understand they've been playing very well. So that I think they're going to be plugging up some holes. I have them winning it.
Gee, I'm telling you, it's not a stretch. I can't fathom it. I can't see how with the other teams. But one thing you got to remember about Minnesota, and I think this came up, I thought we mentioned this on a previous show, that they were kind of in the thick of the playoff hunt still. Even as bad as things were going last year, they
Mhm.
still weren't eliminated.
Right.
But they had one of the top passing defenses. And I think the year before, they were one of the top defenses overall. And they
Hmm.
got some help against this run. You got your guy, Jake Golding,
Hmm.
Caleb Banks, the defensive tackle from Florida, which we weren't sure what was going to happen with him in terms of draft. And offensively, I feel like they're doing something with this run game. They got this Damon Claiborne kid from Wake Forest, this running back. Remember that name. I know they have Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason. Remember this Damon Claiborne kid. He can play, and he's having a nice
Devon
preseason.
Claiborne.
And they signed this fullback from Michigan. That's why I brought up the running game. Not too many teams rock with the fullback anymore. So I'm wondering if they're going to get a little smash mouth on people in the old black and blue division. So their acquisitions, both their draft and their free agent signings, are very intriguing to me. I wouldn't be shocked at all. I just can't envision how they would with the teams that are in their division, but their defense
Yeah,
is certainly up to the challenge, and I think now they have a quarterback that'll be up to the challenge. If he stays healthy, Minnesota definitely be right in the thick of things.
I'm glad you brought up the running backs because I had a note about dual threat running backs. So yeah, I just think that I think the OC probably has the pieces in place that they're going to just open up the playbook.
And who's there? Isn't their defensive coordinator dude that was Miami's coach that had the discrimination suit?
Miami
Ah,
discrimination suit.
yeah, he was the coach when Tua was there. Man, I can't remember his name. I'll look it up. I'll look it up while Big Dude gives his overview. Flores. Isn't he their defensive coordinator?
He
Right,
is.
he
Yep.
was a head coach for the
Yeah,
Dolphins.
that's a
Yep.
Yeah, that's
problem.
right.
That's a problem.
He's
Yeah,
That's
a
a
heck of a
problem.
coach.
That's why their defense has been so freaking good. That makes sense.
yeah, they're tough, and I think they have a good roster and all. I mean, for me, just looking at the whole team, I agree with you definitely on the wideouts, the running backs. Tough running back room, crowded. Their wideout room is crowded. I'm wondering who it
Yeah,
is they got
love
to
that.
let go. What's
Love.
that?
I said I love the depth they have there.
Yeah, but they're going to have to make a difficult choice and cut. The cut down days Monday, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I just wasn't sure. I remember looking at their offensive line, Will Fries. I think he played for Tennessee. You
Hmm.
know, they got some good people in there. To me, it's about whether that offensive line can handle the people that they have on the schedule. They should come out of they play home against Green Bay, and then they go on the road to Chicago. So those first couple of games, I think, are going to be important, but they should be able to handle Tampa Bay, Miami, and New Orleans. I think they're going to go on a streak. The question is going to be with Minnesota, how can they do in cold ball? That's what I want to see. I want to see how good Kyler Murray plays in cold ball. Kyler Murray is probably the best athlete in the league, I would say. I don't know if people can do. Yeah,
Arguably.
he'd probably throw the ball from behind his back, like Eddie Feiner from softball. The guy is just tremendous. But my thing with them is the cold bowl. They play indoors. Can they? And I think Flores, is what a guy like Flores is who keeps them in it. They have the roster. Their defense is solid. Let me see. They have Caleb Banks playing at nose, and I know we've been waiting to hear. And that's the same Caleb Banks that got drafted, right? Is it the same one?
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
Yeah,
that's the one I mentioned earlier. Yep.
right. We've been waiting for him, and I think and Theo Jackson at free safety, I think, is going to be important. But I know they'll be a good tackling team. I know they have good depth. I mean, I think it's a three team race. But I think they have to get beyond Chicago first. Is what I say.
G's got me rethinking this whole thing, to be quite honest with you. And I'm going to have to go through everything now because of all of the teams that I had playing Minnesota. I had the easy W, but I had to
Yeah.
reassess this now because I've always liked Kyler Murray, and I do think he's a difference maker. I'm not saying he's ever going to have you hoist a Lombardi, but man, I never liked whenever Buffalo played him, he gave us hell, man. I mean, they beat us a couple times. Like I don't like playing him. And I can see where he's going to be very problematic for that division. And they haven't really seen him. I mean, not that they haven't played Arizona, but when's the last time Kyler Murray's consistently played? And now you got to see him twice. They might not be ready. They might not be ready for what they're going to get.
Tools this time. And then when you play him with
Yeah.
Arizona, I was so sad for him when he went to Arizona. I was like,
know.
man, he's going to just be in a wasteland.
And did he have
a good season?
Did he have Fitz for what, a year or two maybe?
I think two.
Two. Yeah.
I'd be wrong. The point is that I think when he was there, that's when his better seasons there.
Yeah. I tell you what though, G man, you hit this one because
Dante Culpepper years are back from Minnesota.
Another quiet camp too.
Whoa, did you say that,
haven't
Dante?
heard anything.
Hold up, G. Wait a minute, man.
Yeah, he said it earlier.
Yes.
I must have missed that. I mean, Randall years I can see. I don't know about Dante Culpepper.
I could see it. Do you know what their receiving core? Jawan Jennings, Justin Jefferson, Addison, and then Hawkinson, the tight end.
Telling you, dog, that ball is going to be.
And I feel like there's another wide receiver that I'm missing too, but just the ones I named.
I thought they had another really good tight end. Actually, that's what I thought.
I know they have. I don't know who their second tight end is, but I know Hawkinson is that dude.
Somebody named Josh Oliver.
I don't know who that is. I wonder if that's the Pitt kid. Is that the tight end or the wide receiver?
That's the tight end. Tight end is Oliver.
Yeah, Oliver.
Yeah.
Is he a rookie? Okay.
Yeah, San Jose State.
Okay. Got him a little sleeper. Okay.
Yeah.
Man, now this division has become even more interesting now. But I've heard that people said don't assume that Minnesota was going to be the doormat of this thing, and I was kind of side eyeing them.
So.
But
it's going to be fun football in the North, that's for sure.
Huh. Interesting. All right. Well, that'll do it for our NFC East and NFC North division previews. On our next episode, we are going to wrap up our divisional chase series with the rest of the NFC, the South and the West, which will also make for some interesting discussion, especially the South. I know Gio love talking about that, but definitely getting into the West and see who we think can come out of the West. Until next time, see ya later.